What happens when a famous singer who sang about finding the right person realizes that love alone isn't enough? Keith Urban is 57 years old now. He was married for 19 years, but things didn't turn out like he hoped. To everyone watching, he still looks like a happy country music star. But lately, people notice something different about him. He seems honest, but also sad in a way that's hard to explain. News came out saying Keith and Nicole Kidman's marriage is over after 19 years. Keith's songs sound sadder now, like he's trying to work through feelings he can't really talk about. So what did Keith really say? And what does his quiet sadness tell us? Keep reading to find out, and don't forget to subscribe. How they met. Their story started like a fairy tale. In 2005, Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban met at a party for Australian celebrities. She was a famous movie actress. He was a country singer. They came from different worlds, but something just clicked between them. By June 2006, they got married in Sydney. It was a beautiful, small wedding with family and close friends. The whole world watched as the movie star and the country singer became husband and wife. Over the years, they had two daughters named Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret. They talked about how their family kept them happy even though they were very busy. Keith called Nicole his rock. Nicole said Keith was the love that made her heart steady. They seemed perfect together. But what looked perfect on the outside had hidden problems inside. Life on the road. As Keith's music got more popular, he had to travel more and more. Night after night, city after city, Keith's life became airports, concerts, and hotels. Performing for huge crowds was exciting, but it came with a cost. Behind all the cheering, he felt empty and alone. For years, Keith gave everything to his music. Each tour meant months away from home. He missed birthdays, family dinners, and quiet moments. Fans saw the glamorous life, but the truth was lonely. Keith said that life on the road could be lonely and miserable. This was surprising because he usually seemed so happy and positive. Those long times away created distance. The couple tried to make it work with phone calls and visits, but being apart changes people. Every show meant more miles between them. Every missed moment meant more sadness. It wasn't that they stopped loving each other. They just lost their rhythm, the easy connection they once had. Nicole's big career. While Keith was traveling constantly, Nicole's acting career was getting bigger. She got amazing movie roles, award nominations, and big streaming projects. It was like a new chapter for Nicole, showing everyone she was still an incredible actress. But with her success came changes. For the first time in years, Nicole was the one working on movie sets for months while Keith was touring. They were both chasing their dreams, but they were rarely together anymore. People close to them said those years were emotionally exhausting. Friends said Nicole felt Keith was becoming distant. Keith felt like he was losing touch with the person who once meant everything to him. Neither person was wrong. They were just living separate lives that didn't match up anymore. Keith's honest words. For years, Keith was known for being cheerful and positive. But after almost 20 years of balancing fame and family, something changed. In a recent interview, Keith said life on tour was lonely and miserable. He admitted that constantly traveling had hurt him emotionally. Those words, lonely and miserable, said so much. They showed the weight of his career and the guilt of missing so much at home. It wasn't about being angry, it was about being honest. The road gave him his dreams, but took away the quiet life he loved. For many fans, this felt like Keith's first real admission. His performances became more personal. His songs carried a new sadness that hinted at pain. It wasn't bitterness. It was reflection, a man finally admitting the distance that had grown. The big chain. When news came out that Keith had quietly moved out of their home, fans were shocked. This was the moment that made it real. According to reports, Keith got his own place in Nashville months before the official announcement. Friends said this was the writing on the wall. That move wasn't about anger. It was about accepting reality. Keith was still touring and smiling on stage, but the spark in their marriage had faded. Even though they stayed friendly for their children, the emotional distance was already there. To outsiders, it looked like another celebrity breakup. But for Keith, it was a moment of truth. A quiet goodbye to the life he built and accepting that some chapters close even when you're not ready. What Keith felt but didn't say. After Keith moved out, there was no big statement or blame, just silence. But sometimes silence says more than words. People noticed changes in his performances, soft. Singing, longer pauses, moments where he seemed lost in thought. People close to Keith said this was a time of self-reflection. He wasn't angry, he was sad. Rumors say he often talked privately about wishing he had been home more, especially during important family moments he missed while touring. Keith's emotional wake-up wasn't about mistakes. It was about realizing the cost of ambition. For years, he carried the weight of being strong, the provider, the performer. But now, without the routine and applause, he faced something deeper: regret. Fans began to see his performances differently. Sensing that every song carried pieces of a confession he wasn't ready to say out loud. Why did it end? So what really went wrong? Keith has never publicly said why, but his words and actions tell a story. Over time, their relationship became like a balancing act that couldn't last. Keith's side seems rooted in the conflict between loving music and wanting to be home. Being an artist meant constant travel. Being a husband and father meant being present, and his schedule rarely allowed that. Reports say Nicole's thriving career added more distance. They were each succeeding individually, but growing apart together. Insiders described the split as a difference in direction, not betrayal or anger, but quietly moving in different paths. For Keith, the end wasn't about blame. It was about realizing that love sometimes isn't enough when time, distance, and careers pull you in opposite directions. Nicole's response. As Keith became quiet and reflective, Nicole stayed calm and graceful. She didn't make emotional statements or blame anyone. People close to her quietly shared that she felt deeply hurt and sometimes surprised by how things unfolded. In public, Nicole continued looking poised and professional. She promoted her movies and attended events, but fans noticed her eyes sometimes looked sad. While Keith expressed his feelings through music, Nicole channeled hers through silence. They were now moving in parallel, not as partners, but as individuals learning to rebuild. Moving forward. After the split, Keith's performances took on new meaning. He still smiled and sang, but there was something different. A kind of honesty that only comes from heartbreak. Performing without his wedding ring, Keith seemed more grounded and open. His shows were no longer just entertainment. They were like confessions set to music. Audiences connected deeply, sensing that the man who once sang about perfect love was now exploring imperfection, regret, and resilience. Professionally, Keith handled everything with maturity. He didn't seek sympathy or create drama. He kept his message focused on gratitude for his fans, his daughters, and the lessons learned. Many people admired how he carried himself, calling this Keith's rebirth. Friends said he seemed calmer, more reflective, even peaceful. What's next? As Keith stepped into this new phase of his life, there was a quiet sense of clarity. At 57, he seemed to understand something important. Success means little without balance, and love can't survive when life's noise drowns out connection. People close to him said he's become more thoughtful, spending time in Nashville with his daughters and focusing on small, meaningful routines. His new songs carry themes of forgiveness, gratitude, and redemption. Fans see it. His image now feels more real and human, as if the pain stripped away everything fake and left only truth. Keith has been planning fewer tour and more personal time, showing he's learned that presence matters most. The lesson. Keith Urban's story isn't just about a marriage ending. It's about awakening. It's the journey of a man who spent years chasing stages and awards, only to realize the most meaningful things in life, love, time, and connection are more valuable than fame. Keith's quiet admissions weren't about failure. They were about honesty. He hasn't lashed out or looked for sympathy. He's chosen acceptance and gratitude for what was once beautiful. Nicole continues her journey with grace and strength too. Together, their story reminds us that even the brightest love stories can fade. But from that fading light, new understanding rises. What do you think Keith's story means? Was it regret, acceptance, or something deeper? Share your thoughts below. And if you want to follow his journey, subscribe and stay tuned. Because in the world of love and music, the story never really ends. It just finds a new song to begin.